I just want to say a big thanks to all the speakers who's gone before. I feel rather humbled to be on the stage with you guys. The value that you've produced is immense, and I've got a tough job to sort of follow on from that. So I hope you'll be kind to me. And I'm going to come at this from a little bit of a different angle. And that different angle is that we're talking about marketing agencies, and if you're thinking like a marketing agency, then ultimately, to me and in my philosophy, that's the wrong play. You want to scale, you want to think like a business, you want to think about the framework. You look at the human body. The human body has got a skeleton, it's got critical organs, brain, heart, lung. That's the business model, that's the business brain. The marketing side is just the cover of it, like other fundamentals are. And what I want to take you through is 7 fundamentals that are relating to businesses and business departmentals, and some tips around those that's going to get you hopefully thinking, and you may not implement them all. In truth, it's probably impossible to implement them all. You need to maybe implement 1 or 2 at a time and start to get these strong foundations in. So a little bit about me. The reason why I put this picture up here is I'm normally associated with a suit or a corporate or a board or a VC. And I put here, this is the only picture I have with 1 sock on and 1 sock off. Now I'm going to come back to that in a moment or two, right, about why that is. Forget it's the Grand Canyon, and that's sort of semi-irrelevant. But what I do want to see, and I hope you can all see that, is this quote that I live by. I believe in this so much, I actually have this tattooed on my arm in Irish Gaelic, okay? So life's destiny is yours to choose. Follow your instincts and believe in your dreams. Now I believe that every business and every entrepreneur should reach its ultimate and maximum potential. And it's inside everybody to do that. So I just want to give you a very summary, sort of quick background about myself. You're not here to listen about who I am or whatever it is. I'll get to the talk later, like I say, about shortcutting. But I've been in business since 1994. Throughout the 90s, I launched and exited 2 businesses at 6 figures. I spent a little bit of time out, did some consulting for Mercedes-Benz and Jaguar, as I was all heavily based in real asset finance. I actually developed the sales process for Jaguar to launch their X-Type in 2000, 2001. And then, even though I had 2 6-figure exits, by the age of 30, I knew I could go better. I knew I could go more. And when I started out in the mid-80s, and so for you guys who are old enough, on Maggie's YTS scheme, £25 a week is when I started the blue collar, okay? And that dream and that burning desire, I knew I was better. I knew I was better, and I know that's inside every business. I didn't know how to be better. I just wanted to wear a suit, carry a briefcase, and drive a black BMW. I didn't know what was going to fund that exercise, but that was the reality, and that was the fire that drove me in on it. Okay, so by the time I got to 30, strong on personal development, I go all out and I go and raise money, and I go and launch a lendable wheeled asset finance company. We became the lender. No more brokering, no more intermediary. I noticed Nick had a company up on the board called Concept Vehicle Leasing. A guy called Paul Bullock, Croydon, I think that they're based, Nick, and he was one of our franchises. So I went in, we raised and went hell for leather at the business in wheeled asset finance. And by 2004, we became a non-quoted PLC. Now in the UK, as you know, non-quoted, with public limited company status, but we've not actually floated as yet. So we've got a 5-year plan to float on the AIM market, the London Stock Exchange, or the investment market. And that was the plan that we did. I got introduced to a gentleman called Bill McGrath. Bill McGrath was my mentor, if you want to call that. Bill used to be the chief executive of Wix, the DIY chain, managing director of Comet in the UK. And even though, like I said earlier, I'd done 2 6-figure exits, I thought I'd arrived. But it wasn't until I started working with Bill that I actually realized how much I didn't know and how lucky I've been to get there. Fast forward 2007, we raised over 1.6 million in venture capital to go and take on the market, actually to defend a takeover. We had Hitachi Capital wanting to buy us, so we thought we'd go raise money and go back out there and attack it. And then guess what? Anybody remember 2008 in the finance business? Okay, so we became a pub light with no beer. So we're a finance company, highly geared venture capital, and guess what? 2008 comes out and boom. Ever been down a water slide and there's a big splash at the bottom? That's us. So very highly geared, and whilst we did attempt to turn around, It gets to 2012, we'd paddled along, we tried to do a Series B, 4.4 million with companies like Palatine and other spread risks, and we crashed. And I actually put it in, it was a modest profit-making business model, even though we put 12 million. The reality is, we ended up putting it in administration. But just bouncing back, I want to date 2004, okay? 2004. The reason I was scared is we franchised our business. We franchised it successfully 6 times. We took it and leveraged the market. And in 2005, where you could put any make, any model. Paul Bullock at Concept was one of those franchises, Nick, where you could work out a maintenance contract, lease contract. This is before Facebook. Well, Facebook was still a college campus, thefacebook.com. Twitter wasn't invented. LinkedIn, social media, smartphones, not there. And to drive that scalability, I employed a digital agency inside my PLC. So all the guys and the business development reps have got the PCs and things like that. And then we've got a bunch of geeks in the corner with Apple Macs. How do they work? Nobody knew how to drive them. But what we'd actually got is a digital agency. My first sort of toe in the water inside a public company, if that makes sense. So I said I'd come back to the SOC, and it's why it's relevant to scaling your business and your agency. There is no shortcut. If anybody's here wanting to shortcut, anybody's here wanting to take a fast track to success, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The reason I've got a sock, it's not actually a sock, it's a tubey bandage. I actually put a ladder up on my farm, ready to cut a branch down, doing a bit of garden tree maintenance, and fell 5 meters with a chainsaw in my hand, shattered my calcaneus heel bone, open fracture. I had a delightful ride in the Yorkshire Air Ambulance, and if you ever get to go and watch Helicopter Heroes on the BBC, watch the episode, the Idiots Falling Out of Tree episode, and guess who's #1 star of that show. So that's the sort of play, and why I say it's about shortcutting your business and shortcutting is that is the only photo I have with that tubey bandage on that I could actually put up without me either laid in there or not showing blood hanging out my foot. So the bottom line is it constantly reminds me that when I'm going to go into business, I'm going to go into Midgley. There is a right way of doing this and there's a wrong way of doing it. So what I should have done is taken 20 minutes out, gone and got the scaffold tower out of the barn, put it up and chopped the tree down, and it would have taken me 15 months of rehabilitation, 9 months of which were non-weight bearing, on crutches, 3 operations and a bone graft operation to put my foot back together. So whilst that's relevant to my foot, the shortcut is go up the ladder, cut the tree down, done it a dozen times, shortcut of the process, look what happened. So fast forward that into your business. There's no shortcuts, and that's what I'm talking about here today. So I need you to start thinking for me about philosophy. One of the greatest business philosophers of all time, bar none, Jim Rohn. If you're unsure about Jim Rohn, go check him out, jimrohn.com. He's the best philosopher that I've ever studied from that point. But just give me a quick show of hands. Who actually thinks like, approaches the business as a philosophy? Or do they approach it as a job, or do you approach it as an agency? Just give me a show of hands if you think about philosophy in your business. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of what, 50? Go back, sorry, 6, I'm missing your brain. Start thinking about philosophy. Go and study the best business philosophers and start to open up new angles about what's important and how you should approach the business. Once we've got a mindset about philosophy, and like I said right out of the gate, stop thinking like an agency. If you're thinking like an agency, you're going to be channeled in to what agency language is, what you believe the boundaries of an agency is. An agency is just a business model that happens to deliver agency services. You could put this on a crisp business, put it in an investment business, a business coach. You could put it in a car battery manufacturer. The oldest profession in the world is prostitution, guys. And it's still the same. There's a business model, there's a client, there's a vendor, there's a product or service, or a transaction that's made. Okay? So I want you to start thinking about that philosophy. And then I want you to bring strategy. Who's actually got a fully blown business strategy employed in the business, where they could physically either go to a file on the computer or a filing cabinet and pull it out and show me? not literally, but just give me a show of hands. Who's got a fully blown strategy? 1, 2, 3, 4. Did I miss anybody? 4 again. Look at the numbers. We're talking in both examples I've given you here today. I think there was 5 or 6 hands on the first one, 4 or 5 on the second one. These are fundamentals, guys. You want to scale it properly. Get back to basics. Basics is business and economics. So, strategy, plan of action designed to achieve a long-term or overall aim. You can define that to your niche, you can define that to what you want, it doesn't matter. Once you've got your strategy worked out, you can start to then develop your business model. Business model moving into plan. Okay? So, again, quick show of hands. Who's got a documented business plan? And I'm not talking about the thing that you spend 5 hours creating for the banks to raise a bit of money, or whatever that might be, and then put it in the filing cabinet and never look at it ever again. Who's guilty of putting it in and never looking at it again? Anybody? There you go. That's probably equally the same amount of hands than there were from the people who's got a philosophy or a strategy. So get your business model right. Roughly translated, how the hell does your business make money? How the hell does it generate? What markets does it serve? Get it organized. Understand, this is serious stuff. I don't want to embarrass anybody here, and so I don't want to show of hands here. But think about it in your head and say yes or no to your, for privacy. Who's put the house up as a mortgage? Who's put the house up as security? Whose roof over the kids' heads at risk if this business doesn't work? Now, if you're at that advanced level and you're A-lister and you're making the 6, 7 figures a year, that's fine. But in the earlier days, we've all done it. I know I've done it. Jamie, my lad at the back, 20 years old in August, 19 and a half. When he was 4 years old, I signed my house up for 250 grand to raise another credit line. And did I have a plan? Not really. So the gambles that you make are just unacceptable, or they're unnecessary. And you should be your biggest critic. Now, I'm not here to tap you on the back, and I'm not here to sort of, hey, that's all great. I'm here to be real with you. And if you get offended by that, I'm happy to open a debate with you. Yeah? But sometimes the entrepreneur's biggest enemy is themselves. Okay. Right, you've got your business model right. Who in the room, show of hands please, has got a value proposition that they can absolutely nail down? Marcus, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the highest number we've had. But we still ain't broken double figures out of nearly 50 people in the room. You think that applying, whether that's advertising, marketing, emails, doesn't matter. You think that's right? The fundamentals are wrong. Who would go and borrow money or use their life savings in the field and employ a builder to say, hey, just go and build me a house? No, what are you going to do? You're going to get some plans drawn, assuming planning's okay. Then you're going to go and get that scoped out. You're then going to bury foundations in the floor to the right spec, to the right depth, to support everything coming up. And this is what we're talking about. Ain't always the prettiest stuff, and it may not be Facebook, or it may not be email, or digital, or whatever. But if you're serious about scaling, you cannot build on sand. We've all heard that statement, yeah? What do you build on instead? Rock. Absolutely. Okay, you need a value proposition. Why the hell would anybody come and buy from you? Success. First 3, what does it mean to you? What does success mean to you? Anybody?
Successful clients.
Successful clients?
Changing people's lives.
I'm sorry?
Changing people's lives.
Changing people's lives, yeah? And one more.
Positive cash flow.
Positive cash flow. Awesome. All right. Doesn't really matter. The accomplishment of an aim and purpose. But be clear on it. What success means to you. But it doesn't come easy. It can do if you follow the right steps. Now, what did I mention earlier? We grew a business to 12 million, franchised it 68 times, quoted in financial contracts, 1 to 1. Great, that's me, over the newspaper. All that's me. What a great accolade. I've been invited to speak at the National Association of Commercial Finance Brokers. Great. But what happened was, we were very, very, very highly geared as a venture capital backed business. And when the finance market, now I could sit here and say, okay, the world went bust. Barclays Bank went bust. Lloyd's Bank went bust. Morgan Stanley went bust. And I could sit and hide behind that, but the reality is I didn't get my fundamentals right. I was a CEO of a non-quoted business. I'd got 23 people in head office, had 60 franchises. That's a lot of kids, that's a lot of people investing in the businesses, and it failed because of my strategy or my fundamentals weren't right. And I take responsibility for that. And it hurt me to death. Okay? So, sustainable. When you're building a business, it should be able to be maintained at a certain rate or level. There's no government bailouts for us in this room, like there were for Lloyds Bank, Barclays Bank, Northern Rock Bank. No bailouts at all. The bailout is the bank comes and knocks if you will. If you've used your own money, then you can wave goodbye to that. So you better make sure that you're a sustainable model. That's not me telling you. Like I say, I'm going to tell you direct. You either buy into my philosophy, you either buy into these things or you don't. Respectfully, personally, I don't care. What I care about is trying to deliver a message for you to sort of give you a sharp wake-up call. This is really none of you will lose for your own families. If you go to us, you're trying to lose as well. We lost 68 franchises. That's a lot of burden. That's a lot of mouths to feed. That's a lot of kids who then, their parents will maybe not earn the money. How do we stop that? Let's talk about the negative side of it, or start with that. Let's talk about the positive. What I'm going to put up on the screen is freely available, a bit like what Dennis did. Anything that I do, you can have. If you go and see Jamie at the back, we have got system after system after system, task after task after task, automated processes, all foundational. If you go and see Jamie, give him your card, tell him what you need, we'll send it to you. And that's just part of the altruism sort of approach that we offer to sort of share the message. So what I'm going to say is, this is my philosophy. This is my philosophy for running businesses for 25 years and investing as an angel investor into other businesses, sat on the boards of non-execs, working with venture capitalists who, by the way, they don't care who you are. All they care about is the 30+% yield return that you're going to hopefully get them. So what are the 7 fundamentals? Fundamental is a central or primary rule or principle on which something is based. Okay, no surprises. Finance, ops, people, marketing, sales, governance, personal development. But before you slide down into, well, they're just business departments, Mike. There are a lot more than that. Like I say, you've got to go back to philosophy, you've got to go back to culture, you've got to go back to strategy, you've got to go back to business model, you've got to go to sustainability. So I'm going to dive into here. I'm going to get a little bit of interaction from you because I just want to sort of get some feedback of where you're at. Not to invest. If you feel comfortable, great. If you don't, keep your hand down. You know, it's about sharing. And sometimes I was unfortunate enough to be brought up not directly with an alcoholic family, but part of my distant family, there was some serious alcoholics in there. And they talk about it, and if anybody suffers from alcoholism, they talk about the first start to recovery is when you stick your hand up and say, hey, my name's Mike Midgley and I'm an alcoholic, where you actually admit there's a problem in your business or with your drink. Okay, so if you want to do that, that's entirely up to you. You stick your hand up, it's your business, it's your life. I'm only here to try and keep you on the right track. Are you serious about scaling your business, your agency? Jim Rohn, I mentioned Jim Rohn earlier. Jim Rohn says, set yourself a goal to become a millionaire. Set yourself a goal to become a millionaire. Why? Not for the $1 million, that's automatic. For what it makes of you to achieve it. And that's what Jim Rohn states. So if you follow these principles, you take that back, it's what you achieve and what you become as an outcome. So work on your business, not the services that it delivers in its entirety. So, bottom corner, finance. When we run board meetings, we always start with finance. Why do we start with finance? Because that determines who's going to get the shoeing, as I call it, or the ass kicking, excuse the French. If the finance is down, is that the sales director, is that the ops, what's the cost control? So, we're going to always have a before, during, and after on each slide. I'll just sort of pre-warn that as the number 1. Forecasting. Make sure you're forecasting. Who's forecasting in the business at the moment? Who has to physically have a forecast? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a little bit more. That's awesome, well done. Continuous KPIs. We run a £12 million PLC business on a daily, not weekly or monthly, a daily P&L. That's how tight we had it. But during your business trading, get your key metrics done. What's the cash number? What's the revenue? What's the break even? How many sales? Show me your hands. Who knows how much revenue they need to invoice every day to break even? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great, well, congratulations. The rest of you, get hold of that number. Get hold of that number. After, it's okay, historical. There's a great saying by Michael Checker, the Australian cricket coach. If you look back too much, you get a sore neck. Historical's fine. Historical's fine. But isn't it much better to be able to adjust on the fly, knowing your numbers and being able to change? Okay, key understandings. As business owners, either you or your management team, if you're lucky enough to have a management team, need to be on top of this. You need to know what your revenue line is, what your direct cost line or cost of goods sold, that people may know that as, what your overhead is, okay, what your gross margin is, and ultimately what your EBT IDA is, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. If you don't know what that is, go and get a book on study finance and go make that happen. Okay, 70% rule. When you gear a business to scale, don't do what we do where we were highly geared, relying on the revenue coming in. Scale your business to 70% of your revenue. 70% of your revenue. Now, if you're already in business, may not that be easy to just to sort of say, hey, I'm just going to restructure all my cost base to no more than 70%. But start phasing that in. So your first 30% comes out, goes in the reserve account, and gets put away. So if you're paying salaries, getting offices, fancy tables, nice laptops, do it out of 70%, not 100. And by the way, that 100% is net after the VAT or the tax has already been put into the HMRC account. So you set your business up to 70%. Profit first, operational expenditure second. If there's a major downshift, downturn, you're protected. You've got the thing. And the other thing about the profit first is you're building a war chest. One of the things that we did as part of the flotation, we acquired a business. We got over just short of £1 million in cash in the bank in 3.5 years from launch. We went and bought a business, acquired some speciality, and then became non-quoted PLC. And we could do that because we've got a war chest of cash. And when downturns happen, you can capitalize if you've got cash. You can buy low, invest in it and make it work. So set your business up to 70% of its OPEX and keep 30% in the tin. You can do what you hell with it. Pay yourself a dividend. Take your family to Hawaii. Whatever you want to do. Whatever motivates you. Strict controls. You're not a bank. Especially as an agency. Make sure you get paid in advance, not in arrears. And if there's a big capital expenditure, get at least half up front. There's 3 disciplines that I want to have, and I share it. Jamie will laugh at this because when he was growing up and he started earning his pocket money, right? And he had to do chores on the farm. And I used to say to him, and he used to get £5 a week, and he was like burning a hole in his pocket. So I used to ask him 3 questions. Do you need it? Do you need it? Secondly, can you do without it? And thirdly, can I afford it? And if you actually rework those 3 questions, you'd never buy anything ever again. Because we don't need anything apart from oxygen and food and maybe hygiene. Okay? So do I need it? Can I do without it? And can I afford it? But the reality is, even when you're doing well in your business, you've got tons of cash and you think the world's never going to end. That was us in 2007, 2008. Okay? So when you're doing well and you're making the money, that is the time that you guys buckle down. You challenge your spending habits. Do I need it? Can I do without it? Can I afford it? Make sure you get analytics around it. I'm not going to go into analytics, but it's quite obvious, finance analytics. Okay. Moving forward. Second, operations. Now, operations is such a wide area. We'd be here till 7. And I know you guys want to get Marcus and Nick for some awesome content on here, and you want to go for a bevy as well. So I'm going to just sort of skim through this one. So operations, I'm going to summarize. This is the second fundamental. I'm going to summarize. This is delivering what you've sold, is what I'm talking about. So before, during, after. Make sure you've got a client first culture before, during, after. Before you even get them as a prospect, are you set up and geared up for a client first? So when they become a prospect, they see you as a helpful business. Look at Dennis today. I don't pick on Dennis, I highlight Dennis. Here, have my entire business model. All I need you to do is this. Wow. Do business with Dennis. Okay, during, when they come as a prospect, look after them. And when they become a client, that's when it gets better. Don't stop. I hate to see businesses not have a correct onboarding. I hate to see businesses when they take your money and then it all dies off and the salesman's patter doesn't translate. Make sure you're set up. Partnerships. A lot of you will be buying services, whether it's Dennis, whether it's Brian's, it doesn't matter. Invest, don't buy cheap. Dennis, I know I'm using you as a reference here. I know you say you use the Philippines and things like that. I've tried cheap, I've tried medium, I've tried expense. If you're serious about scaling, people are going to be there for the long term. Invest heavily in your supply chain. And that may be not just the amount that you pay per hour, but the trust, the competency. Systemization, build a franchise model. Even if you are not going to franchise your business, build a franchise model. Jamie went up to Dennis, took the microphone off him, asked him if he'd come on my podcast, The Open Mic. By the way, you should download it from Apple, it's awesome. No, joking aside. But by the time Jamie got back there, click point, there's an email in Dennis's inbox, book on. Because that's systemization. Even though you're not going to franchise your business, who knows, you may do. We were stuck at a glass ceiling at 4.4 million, which is about $6 million, at the time it was about $6.5–7 million. Couldn't break through that. Suddenly I franchised the business, went to 12 in 2.5 years. Now okay, revenue, profit, all that sort of stuff, I understand the dynamics. But you can systemize, and I know the DM team talk about speed and automation. Speed and automation, that's what people buy. Make it there. Quality control. What I want to do is show a hand. As an agent, agency owners only, who has a dedicated person or a main person in their business who runs quality control? 1, 2, 3. 3 out of what? 40? 35? Let me tell you, if you quality control, if you went, we've had doctors' examples and eye surgery. I think you mentioned eye surgery earlier on when I was listening. If we have an eye surgeon who doesn't have a quality control process, if we have a doctor who doesn't have a quality control process, we have a kids paediatrician who doesn't have a quality control process, a roller coaster at a theme park who doesn't have a quality control process, would you use that service? Let me tell you, the first way to reputational ruin in digital is releasing assets that do not work. Get on quality, focus hard, buckle down, dial it in. It comes to you, that's the most expensive time that you may have as a director or an owner. But I tell you what, there ain't anything goes out of our business that doesn't go across my eyes. That's not because I'm a control freak. I have an awesome team that do a great job, but it's a second check or a third check. The web developers are awesome, great. The social media guys are great. The traffic guys are great. But I'll tell you what, it's my name that they say, my Mrs. Agency did that. And I don't want that. We make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes, but not obvious mistakes and avoidable mistakes. So get a quality control process in your business, get some KPI numbers around it, and then you can start to build with scale. Okay, number 3, people. Before, during, and after. Recruit for character, train for skills. Anybody heard of Jim Collins? Yeah. You've got it, awesome. This is where this comes from. Get your core values nailed and dialed down. Then use those core values to recruit the best talent. It's a competitive marketplace. Digital marketers are even losing people to Brian's company, right? That's a compliment, by the way, not a criticism. The point I'm saying is, we work with HubSpot. Marcus mentioned earlier with HubSpot. They have a major problem in Dublin, because they're the second best company to work for in Dublin, behind Facebook and LinkedIn and Google and all those small companies that you've not heard of. So the point I'm trying to get to here is, if you get your core values out there and you make it awesome, you can recruit the best people. You can share that vision. During, get them on boarding, and then after, as your performance, track them through. And give them a development track. Show them at the recruitment side, you can come in at this level, whether you're an apprentice or you're coming in at commercial director level. This is the development track that you can go through. Sharing our journey. Help us fill the gap. My old CEO, or non-exec chairman, Bill McGrath, the Wix guy, the comic guy, the non-food sales and marketing director, Asda guy. He always said, never recruit anybody where you're better at that job than they are. Recruit great people and put a team around you. Right? That's a simple skill gap. Joint initiatives. Every single employee should have a number. And I don't mean an employment number. I'm on about what their core metric is. Customer service satisfaction, NPS scores, doesn't really matter. Sales target, quota calls, whatever. But they should all feed into a company metric. We hear about big, audacious, hairy-ass goals. Again, something that Jim talks about and things like that. That's one big goal that we're trying to do. I think the word Infusionsoft was mentioned earlier on. They used to have an Everest mission. Everybody's going to try and get them to peak at Everest. On their Everest mission is that if you've got individual metrics for each team member and that isn't augmented and going forward into the ultimate goal, you've got your alignment wrong. Let's say there's 40 people in this room and everybody had a number, then that's 40 numbers. But that means that should leverage and go to 60 for the ultimate goal. And that's how you get your best out of your team. Okay, so we move forward into marketing. It's a bit of a strange one. I'm sat in front of a bunch of marketing agencies as a business and exec guy trying to tell you how to market. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm just going to share with you a couple of strategies around marketing. And number one, be your own best client. Be your own best client. I challenge you to be your own best client. Who works 4 days a week as an agency? Anybody? No. We work 4 days a week on client work. The 5th day, which is actually a Monday, so you could argue it's the first day, we work for us. I don't care how much money you've got, how much glory, you don't get our service on a Monday. And the reason why because we do our stuff. Our podcasts get recorded, our videos get recorded, our web development, our optimization, that gets done. And we are our best client. I can share a quick story. We won a £76,000 job, web, membership site, funnels, content, social, video. Why? We were 30% higher than the next best, and we won that. And part of that sales process was, why did you choose us? Why did you choose us? And the lady Lisa turns around and says, Mike, I can see what you do on the line. I can see I'm part of your membership site. I can see what you do on social. I can see your funnels. I'm being marketed by you. You do this stuff. You practice your own best stuff. We won that being 30% higher than the nearest competition because they had confidence we could deliver. And we were our best client. That's a £76,000 job. That pays for a lot of Mondays, guys. Do you agree? Yeah, absolutely. So be your own best client. What I hate to see is mechanics' cars, cobblers' shoes, whatever you want to call it. If Dennis's Facebook ads are off, you can hire him? Maybe. Our reputation, recommendation, possibly. But if he's off, you're going to be thinking at the back of your mind, is this really this guy the real deal? We go on YouTube, we go on various social channels. Who's seen all the new, latest influencers? Are they really influencers? Or do we see straight through them and think you transparent, beep, whatever you might be? People are not daft, you're not daft. You've got a brain, you can work it out. Do the basics. Do the basics. That's a bit like going to the doctor and he says, hey, you got lung cancer, stop smoking. And then you walk into the car park and you see the doctor puffing away around the back. Yeah? Do what you say you're going to do. Reputation counts for a lot. Moving forward, persona productization. Everybody and the mother talks about avatars, personas, exactly the same thing. And I forget who it was, I think it was, who did a section on personas earlier? I forget, I do apologise. Yeah, Brian, awesome. But also negative personas. Understand that. Anybody come across negative persona before? No? So, yeah, you come across negative persona. Give me an example of what you think that is.
Somebody.
Sorry, just over there.
Yeah, so people that I don't want to work with.
Yeah, they may want to work with you, and we'll talk about high interest, low interest later. But ultimately, somebody you don't want to work with. Make sure you understand that. Learn to say no. And again, I forget who was in the room earlier, said learn to say no. Great piece of advice. Productize your service in 3 formats. You come to our agency, you can buy a plus product, £3.5 a month. You can buy a pro product, £5 a month. And you can buy a premium product at £7.5 a month. And they're all commoditized, but then you can bespoke around them. And if you're in the room who says, I can't productize my business, rubbish. Every single business has core disciplines. Every single business, whether you're a bar company, you serve drinks. Yeah? You're a crisp company, you chop potatoes. Doesn't make a difference. There is core components in every business. Productize it, make it easy for people to buy. They've got to start thinking about things like that. Doesn't matter how good the advertising is. Make it simple, and then you can customize and bespoke around it. Who runs content at all 3 stages? So, if I went to your website, did an audit, would I see top of funnel awareness stuff? So if I'm not ready to speak to you, I can engage. If I maybe want to go a little bit deeper, I'll sign up for a webinar, a lead magnet, call it what you want at the consideration stage. But if I'm ready to go, I'm a productizer ready to be able to take the money or at least transact into a consult if that's the process that you've got. So, produce content at 3 stages. Content, that's not just on adverts, not just on web. Everywhere you go. Awareness, consideration, decision. And who has an agency positioning statement? Anybody come across that before? 1, 2, I may call you out on this, by the way. 3, so you give me a share on that. An agency position statement. Let me give you an example of what that looks like. This is ours. 4 stages of an agency positioning statement. Again, I'll give you the slides for these if you want this. Marcus will arrange these to get distributed. So we typically assist high growth opportunity and venture capital backed service businesses generating $1 million in revenue. That's pretty straight targeted. Who are frustrated at the lack of progress and need to scale and triple the growth in the next 36 months. They've got a venture capitalist biting at their ankles. They want the 30+ yield return. They've got to move. That's pretty good. We talked about being angry. Yeah, they're angry. They're being angry because they're getting bit. And then if anybody's interested in venture capital, there's a term called ratchet back. And if you don't start hitting your numbers, that means they're going to start taking more equity for no more money coming in. And eventually, if you end up like a competitor of ours when we were in the wheeled asset business, a company called Tusker Direct down in the southwest, they were backed by a company called Smedvig Capital. And they kept missing targets and missing targets and missing targets. And eventually Smedvig owned 90% of the business for no more money. The original management team got fired at 40% and they lost everything. So you don't want ratchet backs. So I know exactly who we're going to play with. And how do we do it? We implement a 7-stage growth engine framework because we productize, we franchised equivalent that increases revenue through targeted lead generation, client acquisition and retention. Because the mission, the vision, the belief, the passion, because that's what we're about. Because we believe every business should reach its maximal potential so it can change the world and become a market leader. Now you don't believe I've got passion to deliver that? I challenge you any day of the week because that's what I live for. Anybody guess what my hobby is? Shout it out. What's my hobby? Oh, by the way, I support Everton Football Club. I live on a farm. I've got 3 chocolate Labradors. But what's my hobby?
Cutting trees down.
Sorry?
Cutting trees down.
I'm sorry?
Mountain climbing.
No. Guess what my hobby is? Business. I study business models. We went to Inbound in Boston in 2017. I'm sat on the trolley bus with Alistair. Marcus knows Alistair McWilliam. Jamie, Alistair sat on the trolley bus going around Boston looking at the Freedom Trail. And I'm sat there and these are taking the cameras out and they're photographing everything and they're saying here and there. I'm sat there working thinking, how many of these trolley buses are out there? How many people are sat here? They're only paying $6 a ticket. How do they make any money? That is my hobby. I'm sat there in the restaurant thinking, God, I can't make a dime. That is me. I live, breathe and eat this stuff. Now I'm not saying that you should be boring like me. I have 0 life outside of business. I invest in business, I grow businesses and I make it happen. But that's what I'm passionate. So who's got an agency positioning statement that looks something like this? Awesome, Brian. Who wants an agency positioning statement who will look something like this? Yeah, get onto it, make it happen. Wake up. This is serious stuff. Okay, bottom, marketing sales handoff as I move forward. I'm conscious of time. So I'm going to move this through pretty quickly now. Marketing sales handoff. It's a little bit of like the clients. There's people high and low fits and good and bad and good and bad interest. So is the interest high or low and are they a good or a bad fit? That'll come out of your persona. But make sure that the marketing department has a sales target or a revenue target. If your sales team need 50 qualified leads to dilution down to get 10 clients, then what does that 50 qualified leads look like? If it's $5 a month, that's 60 grand. Then they've got 50, they've got 3 million gross marketing qualified lead target. Make sure the marketing team have a financial target to deliver qualified leads. And then make sure the sales team are reporting that back for closed loop reporting. How many times have we heard it? The sales team say, well, the marketing leads are crap. And then the marketeers say, well, the sales team can't close. Have you ever come across that in business before? Yeah? Get them together. It's your responsibility. You're the business owner, guys. So get marketing sales handoff. The leads are coming over right. I'm not going to eat too much into Nick and Marcus because they're absolutely awesome at sales, but I'm just going to cover it because it's one of the fundamentals and I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't. So, when you're working with sales, work to the buyer's journey. Who's got a sales process in the business currently? Is it defined out of a sales process or was it born or drilled out of the buyer's journey? You've got to, was it out the buyer's journey?
Yeah.
So you map your buyer's journey first, then you created your sales process under it. Yeah?
You created the funnel, starting with where the person sees that.
Awesome. Yeah, so you start. The biggest mistake you'll make is creating a sales process out the gate. Understand the steps that your customers take or your prospects take before they become customers to eventually, and then use the terminology within your sales team that go from there. Control the sales process. We talked about doctors earlier. We adopt a 3-step process. Prospect comes to us, I ain't going to quote them anything. I'm going to consult with them, like a doctor would do. Then I'm going to diagnose them, and then I'm going to prescribe them. You go to the doctors, you say what's wrong with you, he's going to ask you some questions. Why does your head hurt? You're going to give him whatever answer you're going to give him. He's then going to shine a torch in your eyes, you're going to stick your tongue out, you're going to go, ah. And then based on his medical experience, he's then going to write you a prescription, and he gives you that prescription and takes it over the road, and you give it to the chemist with a cross, the green cross flashing outside, and you say the doctor said that. Who's had a prescription in the last 12 months? Who argued with the doctor that it were right? You did. Okay. Me and you will speak in a moment too, and I'm sure there's a reason around that. But ultimately, do we agree that most people trust the guy in the white coat to give him the right prescription? And I'm sure you've got a reason. We'll talk about it after. I'm conscious of time, I've got to move forward. But the reality is, if I say to you, take 3 tablets, 500 milligrams, 2 times a day, you're not going to say, hey, I'm going to take 1 tablet 5 times a day at 250 milligrams, because you believe the process. Yeah? Plus, we talk about charging 10, 20, 30%. If you're giving a solution to a problem, customer says, I don't want to pay that. Not a problem. What do you want me to take out? You want to fix your headache in 2 hours? Take the tablets. You want to fix it in 6 hours? Take less. And that's the same. It could be traffic, it could be conversions, it could be website, it doesn't matter. It's a way to hold the profitability, and that's the key thing. You become a trusted expert. And if you market and you become your own best client, and you're out there doing and sharing and giving great stuff, people are going to believe you, because you're going to come across, hopefully, authentic and genuine. Okay, video, prospecting. Who's using video for prospecting or sales thing? Brilliant.
I will be.
Awesome. Use tools like Vidyard, Loom, where you can share, you hold a banner up and say, hey, it's Mike. I just thought I'd reach out, do an audit on your website, XYZ, bang. You're going to get far more engagement off of prospecting outreach using a video message than you are making a traditional cold call. Sales to fulfillment handoff. Shared goals through the onboarding. When a sale gets done before you close it, get your customer service or head of client delivery. Jamie, my boy, he sits with the sales team every time and says, before you go and offer that deal, can I deliver it? We onboard 3 times a month. On the 1st, on the 11th, and on the 21st. We work in decades, not weeks, by the way, guys. We only work in decades. It's a far better way to manage business in every 10-day slot, not every 4 weeks. If you want to speak to me about decades, I'll talk to you about it after the show. But create a buddy system. Make sure that customer service are passing back feedback, which are potentially cross-sells, upsells, for your sales team to reconvert. And again, make sure you've got analytics involved. So, governance, the most boring part, so I will be as quick as I can here. Doing the right thing. It's often the last thing that people put in, but it really should be the first thing. And the only reason it's not 1 on the board is because finance is always first. So what I mean by governance is, before you set up, have you got the right licenses? Have you got the right regulatory? Have you got the right reporting mechanisms? When you assemble your management team, or if the management team is just you, it could be your professional advisors, your accountant, it doesn't make a difference. Are they knowledgeable? They've got diverse backgrounds and skills. Do they know what the roles and responsibilities are to deliver? Have they got clear directive? Make sure it's integrity and ethical based. I know what you say, of course we're honest. Are we? Everybody do the right thing? Everybody doesn't bend it a little bit? We do. Me included. You can raise your hands. Who's bent it in the last 6 months? Not paid the VAT, stripped it out, maybe didn't file on time, didn't fill the annual return? Yeah, of course we have. There's a great statement by Richard Nixon when he was in the White House. And when you read his autobiographies, he talks about deep six in it. Jamie always laughs when I say this. Deep six it. When we were in a PLC, okay, we're playing with technically public money. It's okay when you go and dig in your own garden and cut your own lawn up. But when you jump over your neighbour's fence and start digging his lawn up, he's going to have something to say to you, isn't he? Yeah, you'd be happy if I went and dug your lawn up? No, and that's what it's dealing with, public money. So get your governance right. And Richard Nixon used to talk about the illicit things that used to go off in the White House. And his statement was, well, let's just deep six that. And that was his code for bury it under 20 foot of concrete, let's hope nobody finds it. It happens, even in the public companies. I won't embarrass Bill as the ex-CEO of Wix, but some of the stories were amazing, especially around Blue Circle Cement. If there's any representatives in there about Blue Circle, don't come and see me, I won't tell. Okay, but risk management, you need it through the fundamentals, not just in corporate governance, guys. You need risk in finance, risk in ops, risk in recruitment, risk in systems, risk in people. You need a risk management approach. And hey, I'm one of the most flamboyant entrepreneurs you'll get out there in sort of my sort of level, if that's right. I'm not quite at Dennis's level or anything like that. I'll have a go at anything, you know, as long as it, but I like to move it from a gamble to a calculated risk. And this is what we're talking about here. Okay, make sure you've got strong leadership. Personal development, before, during and after. Who's currently in a personal development program? Yeah, quite a few. Excellent, well done. Awesome. During and after, let's talk about that. Focus on what moves the needle. I'm probably going to get slated here, but who has ever put a post out that said, hey, anybody got any good books to recommend? Just 2? Really? Okay, I'll reverse the question. Anybody asked, anybody got any books to read? And then you've jumped on something that's worked for you. Anybody done that? Made a recommendation?
Sure. Yeah.
How do you make a recommendation when you don't know where they are?
Well, next to me on the shelf.
Positioning, that's not where. I'm talking about the journey. What I'm saying is it frustrates me. Now I like to have a moan every now and again, and this is the biggest one. Who is strong at finance? Let's show a raise of hands. So far, who's strong at finance? 1. Who's strong at operations? 2. Who's strong at people management and people recruitment? 3. Who's strong at marketing? Come on guys, I'll do that. Who's strong at marketing? Thank you. Right, who's strong at sales? Cool. But we're all in different cycles, different hands are going up, and the point I'm actually getting, guys, is this. If, in your case, you're awesome at finance, but you're not, doesn't it make sense that on the basis, if you're going to scale your business profitably, you need to know about finance? Go and study finance. Make it move the needle now. So stop asking people what books to read. Make a self-assessment, score yourself out of 10. Simple math. What is my finance knowledge out of 10? 7, 6, 5? Same with ops, people, marketing, sales, governance. Whatever the lowest is, whatever's going to move the needle the most, get in there and study that and become a student of the fundamentals. Once you start connecting these fundamentals, boy, your business is going to move. It's going to be on solid foundations and it's going to scale. Find the authorities. Everything has been done in capabilities of man. I will always study the original source first. Finance, George S. Clason, Richest Man in Babylon, published 1926, relevant today more than any time. How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, 1936, more relevant today than ever. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, the book that turned my life around, 1937. Self-help, come on, let's have a guess here. Who is the #1 authority on self-help? Self-development, self-image. Anybody got an idea? Tony Robbins. You can't argue with that. But do you know who Tony Robbins studied under? Jim Rohn. Who did Jim Rohn take self-help and self-image from? Sorry? L. Schoaf, Jim Rohn. Okay? Slightly ahead there. But the #1 authority for self-help books, and I hear people say Steve Peters, Chimp Paradox, all that, all come out of one guy, Dr. Maxwell Maltz. 1960. Originally a plastic surgeon from the 20s who were fascinated for 40 years about the perception and how to be there. Study the originals. Once you've got the authorities on the subject, the people who invented this, then go and experiment and check Tony Robbins out if you like that. Brian Tracy, Ziegler, Jim Rohn. Doesn't make a difference. Okay, so, biggest mistake. Spoke to somebody just last week. How many books did you read last week, Mike? 28, last year. 28 was the answer. I did 52. I set myself a target to do 52 books in a year. So I said to him, how much did you implement after those? There was a section on somebody's slides, and again, I do apologise, I've been doing some film work with Jamie at the back. Somebody talked about taking action. Absolutely. I did 28 books and I struggled anywhere near to implement half of what I earned. This year I've set myself a target to do 16 books. But I want to then focus on what's going to move the needle, implement it, and then scale even higher. Yeah? So make sure you implement afterwards. As we wrap up here, guys, I know I'm slightly over time. Marcus, I apologise. 2 or 3 minutes, buddy. Right. So, who's heard the statement? The road to success is not A to Z. It's a zigzag, and we see those things on social. Agree? It's not. It's neither. It's not a straight line, and neither is it a zigzag. It's a continuous loop. Here's a quote that I came out with. Success is not a straight line from A to Z, or Z for the American audience. Neither is it a detour or a zigzag, as many would have you believe. The reality is success is a continuous loop that has no end. It simply cycles in stages, and with each milestone of achievement, you start over and work towards the next goal. Who gets to it? When we hit 4 million, 6 million, 8 million, we've got 10 franchises, 20 franchises, we reset as goals and win again. It's a continuous loop. Until the day that I die, which will probably be in a boardroom or in some type of investment deal or doing a talk like this for somebody, I'll never arrive. There's a great quote by St. Paul when he became a saint. How much, that's the ultimate holiness. It says, I've not arrived, I've just got to the next level. I've now got, what's next? What's next? And if a saint can say that, okay, it's mythical, it's, you know, I can't audit that statement, but you get the idea. It's a continuous loop, guys. So, we talked about the 7 fundamentals. This guy, by the way, this guy invented the modern motor manufacturing production line. He systemized production lines in car manufacturing instead of being hand coach built. Henry Ford, coming together is the beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. So when you as a business owner, because you're not an agency owner, you're a business owner. You employ people. People depend on you to pay the mortgages, feed the kids. You've got self-respect, or you should have. Otherwise, you don't deserve to be in business. Whether you take offense to that, take it up with me in the back afterwards. The reality is, the 7 fundamentals, I hopefully have passionately shown you what the 7 fundamentals. You already knew that to a degree, but that's the beginning. Now, get your team together and start working on them and get them in progress and start to lift that knowledge bar. And then when they're working together, we've all heard the word leverage and augmentation. Augmented. The pieces as a whole are worth 10 times stronger than the individual bricks. You get the 7 fundamentals right, your business is going to fly. You're going to be more valuable, you're going to get more investment if that's what you're doing. If you want to sell, it's going to be worth 3 to 5x more than what it would be. My name's Mike Midgley. I hope you've enjoyed that, guys. Thank you very much.
I'm like angry, but happy, which is just not okay. I think that my hope is that I can be passionate about anything like that in my life. Can you tell that he's passionate? Yeah. I don't know. Like you ever? Okay, here. How about this? Ready? Have you ever been yelled at by someone for 45 minutes? And at the end, you're like, you missed the spot.
I apologise if I offend. I'm not here to offend, I'm here to get a result for you, but, you know.
I needed to hear that, and I don't even own an agency, so, but I run a business, a big one. And I'll tell you that, it's everything. You lived up to the hype, so thank you so much.
Well, hopefully. Is there any questions I could take them now, or if we've got time, I'm around, I can take them after.
A few questions, and then we have our last session, which we're going to go right into, which is about 30 minutes, so we're almost done. But yeah, any questions for Mike? It seems like he's a really good resource. Yeah.
I just have one question. How do you balance the prescription approach versus the productizing approach? Because some people struggle with, okay, these are the products that I have, but when it's a prescription, you're writing something that you may not have in the product.
Yeah. So it's pick and mix. So as I said before, when somebody comes to our agency or our venture capital arm or whatever it would be, they've always got a common goal. I want to grow my business, I want to get more leads, make more money, whatever it would be. The productization has to cover the basics and some. Even at the basic level, the plus, pro and the premium. So it has to cover the basics, lead gen, SEO, PPC, strategy, you know, whatever it would be. So you pick the product and then you customize around it. So if you've got a bigger demand to maybe be on Facebook, or you've got a weakness in video creation, or maybe strategic. So the tactics, you know, you don't want to be pouring water on sand because it just soaks away. You want to get it onto rock first or into a bucket. So whatever it would be, the core productization would cover what I would call the essentials. And the best way I can quickly explain that is, if I sold you a car, and then you got excited about picking up the keys, and you sit in the seat and there's no steering wheel. Okay? You're going to say, hey, how am I going to drive this away? Because a steering wheel is expected value. The fact that the car doesn't have leather seats or air conditioning, that's added value. So your productization has to cover expected value plus 10%. So when a prescription, to answer your question then, when you come in to write the prescription, your baseline products are already going to over-deliver, and then it's, hey, do I just want to do 30% more of this tactic or strategy or whatever it might be? Does that sort of answer your question? Is that okay? Any more questions? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things you said, by the way, great talk, really, really good.
Thank you.
You're the Mac Daddy. What you said about hiring people, and I'm wondering, like, maybe I misunderstood it, or maybe you've got two angles on this, and I just need to kind of consolidate it in my head, because it's the only thing that kind of stood out to me is not quite thing.
Yep.
So one of the things was recruit for character, train for skill.
Yep.
Got it, totally understand. The other one was don't hire anybody who you're better at their job.
Yep.
And I totally believe in both of those things. I'm trying to consolidate them in my head, and it's not fit for me, but I believe in both, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what have you found to be, are they the same thing, or?
Yeah, it depends on where your business is, in fairness. So let me just cover if you're the agency lead or the business lead, like for me, I lead our 3 channels, okay? I'm pretty strong with strategy and investment, so I don't need to go and hire somebody for that role. That is my role. I lead from the front in that role. I may have assistants around me in an undergraduate where I'm going to train them up to eventually, from a succession planning, take over my role when I've had enough, I want to move on to the next venture or whatever it would be. But if I want to say hire a Facebook expert, if I'm better at Facebook than Dennis, which is impossible, but if I was, then what's the point of hiring that person? You've got to hire somebody who's better. So it's about which seat and where you're at. Identify your own strengths, and if you're happy leading that, that's fine. If you want to bring a protege up to then eventually succeed in succession planning, which you should in your business if you're serious about selling it, one thing I'd add to that is I never start a business or I never invest in a business unless I know when I'm going to exit it.
Oh. Okay.
Now, it doesn't always go to plan. We don't always wave the checkered flag down and cross the finishing line exactly at that time. Sometimes it's slightly older, sometimes it's slightly earlier. But, you know, so succession planning is a big part of it. So I'm not sure if that answered it, but it does depend on where you're at. Identify your own strength, and if you're the main man for that, then maybe hire an assistant underneath and train them for succession. But if in Dennis's case, Dennis has probably forgot things about Facebook that I even know. So I'm not even going to have a go at that. I'm just going to hire this guy. Does that make sense? Yeah. Hopefully that helps.
Another question, Mike, it's a comment. Gain a whole lot from that. Some years ago, although Vicar did run a business, and much of what you have said, if I had followed that, I wouldn't get to the place where Neil lost my shirt. Okay. And I mean, I think with all of that fire in your belly, you must have been walking a lot and ilkley more about that.
Yeah, I've done a lot of hard yards. Yeah, absolutely. But thank you, I appreciate it.
Do you take outside investors into your business?
My own business?
Your own business?
No, it's fund it itself.
Yeah, and you don't have, therefore you don't have a ratchet back.
I don't have a ratchet back in mind, but I was ratcheted back once in my VC deal, and it was the painfulest thing when I'd give another 5% away for no more money coming in. Because it's not the 5% that you give away, guys. It's the multiple of 3, 5, or 8 or 10 that you would get. So you give 5% away, and that 5% away, let's say it's 100 grand. If you, by the time you get to exit, you think, oh, it was only 5%. And it was only 100 grand then. But when you get exit, and then I say to you, hey, I'm taking £500,000 off your payout and giving it to the VC instead, that hurts. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah, so early on you started with strategy and went to business model, I think, and then management. So just wanted to get maybe some thoughts on a bit more on what you think about what is strategy for you, because that means different things to different people. Some people will start with a business model actually and then talk about strategy about how to get to that business model. But it sounded like you started with that first.
Well, there's a great statement. Marcus will know this guy. There's a guy called Brad Martineau who runs a company called 6 Division over in Arizona and Phoenix. And he's got a great statement. He says strategy precedes everything. Okay? Now, your strategy, whether you want to become a local business, a big business, an agency or whatever, you've got to decide what you're going to do and what you're going to be good at before you can create the model. The model is only just the revenue of what markets you're going to serve, or what you're going to charge, or how your business makes money. But if I want to be in different disciplines, luckily we both, well, we're not a company, we're an intermediary, but we're both. So to me, the philosophy about business and being committed is the first thing. Let me get my head straight. Then I'm going to talk about what's the strategic approach that I want to take, which will then define the business model and plan that I'm going to use to execute the strategy. And that's why I agree what Brad Martineau says at 6, that strategy precedes everything. So that's just my view. It could be wrong, and I'm open up for debate, but hope that covers it for you.
Thank you.
Is that all right?
Yeah. But I don't know what to say right now. I feel like, anyway, huge round of applause for Mike.
Thanks, guys. Be awesome. Go on, make it happen.